Good morning, friends. It's good to be here today. Welcome to Journey Home Meditation's Morning Sit. This is a daily shared practice of breathing. Sometimes that just sounds so funny to say. We're going to practice breathing. But that's what we're going to do. And this is also a practice of coming together. Even from our seemingly separate places. Be here in the Beside Meditation Hall, Journey Home Support Services in Cave Junction, wherever you may be in this moment. You might be anywhere in the world, and you are right here. It's right here in this moment. Not in this place, but we're here in this moment. And this is a practice of trying to collectively share space. We'll do some poetry and a little bit of contemplation on some of these ideas and practices. So let's get settled in. To lower the music. This is Mark Deutsch, phenomenal musician. He's playing an instrument that he created decades ago called the Byzantar. Mark died not too long ago, died in May of this year. And that's when I was introduced to his music through Angela, and she had a personal friendship with Mark. So when he died, we were kind of able to start going through her memories a bit, and that brought us to the music, and it's just an absolutely wonderful gift. So thank you, Mark Deutsch, for your gift. It's wonderful. Let's get settled in together. I think one of the best ways to begin a shared practice, or any practice really, is probably to just stop what you're doing. Stop what you're thinking. Stop the ways in which we are moving through this world, without pause. Taking that pause for just a moment is such a humble and reverent moment and thing to do for one another. So before we go any further, I'd like to just take a pause and just catch a breath. It's a good time when taking that pause to develop a practice of breath awareness. It simply means to bring your attention, the focus that you have with your mind, to your breath, to the feeling of the breath in your body, to understanding the ways in which we hold our body and how that affects our breath and how our breath affects the way we hold our body. There's this interdependent relationship, this way of moving through the world that requires this sympathetic and, I guess, there's a word that I'm looking for. I can't find it, but that's okay. It is a relationship of interdependence. The breath is dependent upon the way we are holding our bodies, physical bodies, and the way that we are holding space for our emotions, the way that we are holding our resentments or our joys or our expectations and disappointments and all of these things that we do experience. And the way that we carry those is going to affect our physical body, and it's going to affect our breath. And the way that we are breathing can also affect the way that we carry those emotions and the way that we react to those feelings, those sensations that arise. That's what it means to be interdependent. You remove a part of that, and the relationship is gone. And if you remove the breath, well, you don't have much time for the rest of it in this body and in this carnation. Good luck next time. But all of this is simply to bring our attention to the awareness of the breath, is to be aware of how I am relating to the world most directly. See, my personality wants to relate to the world in one way, and that's generally seen as ego. That's generally seen as the way that I see myself in the world. My personality is somewhat dependent upon the beliefs that I have about myself and about the world and about others. That's what shapes this level of personhood, who I think I am, who I want you to think I am, more importantly, maybe. And that's going to be one level in the ways in which we relate. I'm sorry, I'm getting lost in the sound of my own words, so I'm going to stop speaking. Let's just go to the breath. So just a few breaths together. Now that we've settled into bringing our awareness to the breath, be aware of how you're holding your body. Is that facilitating a smooth and gentle breath, or is that causing stress or strain that may be unnecessary? Just release that, shift the body a bit. The smallest shift really could help. Things like bringing your shoulder blades together just a touch in the back, sort of opening that chest just a little bit, and raising so that your palms are facing upwards in the position to give and to receive. Doing this causes the shoulders to roll just enough to relieve some of that pressure of the muscles that are bringing our shoulders down around our lungs. So we want to open that chest just a bit. Just rolling the hands up can really help with that. Being seated with a cushion underneath your bum can really help elongate the spine, relieve some of that pressure of having to hold your spine up in a more erect position. It can be easier when your hips are elevated to the level of your knees or above. If you're seated in a chair, same thing. You can sit on a small cushion or put a small pillow behind your lower back. All these things, small ways in which we can create a little bit more openness in our breath. So let's do 3 breaths together. Breathing in through the nose, allowing the abdomen to rise and fall. And breathing in. I'm breathing out. I'm breathing in. And breathing out. And breathing in. And out. And bring your attention to the way your body, your mind, your emotions, all of that feels after just even a few breaths. It could be a very subtle shift. It could be a very massive shift. Some days it's everything changes in just a few breaths. Some days it's so subtle I really have to be aware, to recognize that I have shifted my trajectory in the moment. Mary Oliver says that attention is the beginning of devotion. And I've always felt that this practice is a devotional practice to the breath. So bringing our attention is creating our capacity for devotion. And devotion is this recognition of the importance of something. And it brings with it an inherent gratitude, not a gratitude that's taken for granted, but inherent in the way that when you start to create devotion, it is with gratitude. I teach in my poetry classes that attention is the currency of love. It's the way we pay it forward. We pay the love. And Ram Dass teaches that to be in love is the same as to be in awareness. So he teaches the I am loving awareness mantra. This recognition of love and awareness being the same thing, and attention being devotion, all of these are really coming to the oneness of the practice, because the practice is the returning, really. So taking these moments to just fall in love, fall into love, be in that love. That's a pretty good way to start the day, I think. It's a pretty good way to start anything. So I actually have set up today a small clip from Ram Dass. Ram Dass is one of my teachers that it's kind of the perennial teacher, and he keeps coming back over and over again. He's a teacher that I am able to relate to a lot of, not just the things he says, but the intention behind the teachings. They don't seem to be intended to browbeat us or make us feel bad about who we are, to change who we are. It's not motivated through shame or guilt. And I really appreciate that. So let's see. I have been doing a lot of personal work on understanding my relationship to fear and my relationship to other people. There's a pretty famous saying, and I talked about this week in the Mindful Moments segment that I do for a local radio station. It's a short bit of a quip on these ideas. Anyway, there's an adage that hell is other people. And Padraig Ó Tuama recently did a talk on this very thing, and I'm really sad to have missed the opportunity to hear that talk. I would love to hear what that great mind has to say about how they've played with that phrase in their understanding. But for me, when I hear the phrase hell is other people, my initial understanding of that is to say that to be around other people is hellish. But as I go deeper into that understanding of hell is other people, I start to think that maybe what we're actually saying here is suffering is other people. And somehow this is going to be a good thing. Somehow the fact that other people suffer invites me in. It invites me to be present with my suffering. And that's really important, because it is exactly my suffering that I believe that I am not welcomed in. It is my suffering that I believe that I am not desirable if I am sad, or that I am not desirable if I am in pain or incapable of behaving in certain ways that some may expect me to behave. All of these ways in which I fear the loss of connection is my suffering, is the root of my suffering in those moments. So I do these things, coping mechanisms, to try to assuage my feelings of suffering. I do things to avoid feeling that suffering. And inevitably, they don't really work in the long term, but they can work short term. Absolutely. So then my suffering is the fear that I'm going to be not welcomed in to other people's lives, other people's hearts. And then my behaviors can oftentimes, and for many of us, oftentimes lead us to isolate, to begin to sort of become an island of emotions. And we can create these concepts about life and ourselves that say that others won't be okay with me. So therefore, I'm going to be separate. And we hear this a lot. I was speaking with a person the other day about grief, and they were sharing their grief. They so desperately wanted to share their grief that they wanted to share it right where we were at the grocery store. And I'm okay with that. When you do this kind of work publicly and you live in a small town, everybody kind of knows that you're the person to talk to about these things. So Angela and I tend to be in these conversations often, conversations about death and dying, loss and grief. And we happen to have them a lot in the checkout line at the grocery store, because in a small town, the grocery store is the de facto community center. So there we were, groceries in hand, standing out just outside of the doorway. So people are walking by us and having a deep discussion about grieving. And this person said, I've been really trying hard to get over this and I just can't. I understand that. And in those moments, we're tempted to go to the pop psychology kind of bits of rhetoric. You're never going to get over it. Stop thinking you're going to get over it. And we want to correct people. We want to teach people. All these moments are teachable moments, but it's not. It's just a human moment. And it's just a moment for connection. The classroom is not going to occur right outside of the automatic doors of the grocery store, groceries in hand. This is not a time to correct someone. It's just a time to connect with someone. And so I'm listening, and they said, I just don't know what to do with myself. So I just said, can I ask if you have talked to any other people about this? Well, no, I've been waiting to talk to you. Well, thank you. Would you consider going to a grief group? Oh, I gotta deal with this on my own first. Okay. Well, it's here for you if you'd like. And that's kind of where I left it. I encouraged a little bit, I just want to encourage you to think about what it might be like to be able to share space with others who are experiencing what you're experiencing. And let them know the times, and we gave our hugs and we parted ways. And I just got to the vehicle and I remember feeling very sad, because it is so often that these are the conversations that I have. A world full of arguably one of the most social creatures that I can imagine. We have built everything as a society. We have adapted and changed the earth. We have, arguably caused a lot of damage, but also arguably caused a lot of amazing developments in our culture and in our species. And we've done that together. Everything that we have, we've done together, including the pain that we are feeling. That's been done together. But when it comes time to talk about what it might be like not to necessarily heal or leave that pain behind, but to absorb and understand what that could be together, we are terrified. We are terrified. Even in the rooms of recovery, the 12-step rooms, there's a deep understanding that my recovery depends upon other people. My recovery depends upon my ability to be vulnerable and to sit with others. But you start touching on grief. You start touching on financial instabilities, you start touching on food insecurity. You start talking about housing insecurity. And all of a sudden, we're a room full of individuals. Well, that's your responsibility to deal with. And I think that there's a lot of fear that's built into that. I think we have a culture that has allowed the fear that we have to create for us a false sense of safety in the notion that hell is other people. But I put forth that spirituality is other people. Sitting in a room with another person. Jesus said, when 2 or more of you come together in my name, I am present. That means we need others to bring the presence of divinity into the space. That means the spirituality, which just actually, by definition, means the understanding that we are of the same breath, spiritus being breath, means that it's not just me, that my breath depends upon you, your breath depends upon me, that our breath is inherently interdependent. We are connected, inextricably so. We are connected, for better or for worse, till death do us part. Amen. And yet, we have developed this fear that has kept us believing that it's my responsibility to handle my healing. And then we have an entire billion-dollar self-help industry. You want to fix your life? Sit in your room alone every day and breathe like this man. Do these breaths and everything in your life will shift. You're going to lose 30 pounds. You're going to start talking to the daughter that's estranged from you. You're going to stop doing your dishes in the bathtub. All of these things. This is what's going to fix you. You should just stop eating these 4 foods and your life will be amazing. None of these things are saying, reach out and hold someone's hand today on the bus. Ask them, hey, would you like some support? You look a little sad. Or even better, hey, I know you don't know me, but I'm feeling a little sad right now. Would you mind if I just sit next to you? We can just sit next to each other in this space. Nothing weird. I just want to know that someone knows that I'm here. See what happens. No one talks about that. These aren't in the books. And even these meditation practices are really geared for the individual. We have the apps on the phones. The biggest selling apps since COVID have been meditation apps. And these are things that are done as individuals. Even this, I'm sitting in this room alone right now. The door is unlocked. The space is open. Many people tune in to this on their computers. And there's no shame in this. I'm just saying. Even this, we have managed to develop ways to do this alone. So Ram Dass has this little thing that I wanted to play, talking about fear and meeting fear in others and fear in ourselves. Let's see if this works.
The question is how to be with another person who is afraid. Let me take a quick crack at it. We'll just keep going back and forth. I feel that everything that I've done on myself is what I offer to every human being I meet. And to the extent that I have confronted things that frighten me and turned around and looked at them rather than running away, and seeing that they are the creations of my mind in large part, fears of embarrassment, of shame, of humiliation, all those kind of fears, and fears of pain and fears of things. I can be an environment for another person which takes the fear and just allows it. Not that I can take it away from them. I think that what burns people out in working with another person is that they keep trying to take something away from them or change them or do something to them. And I think that you've got to allow that that person is afraid. That's the way it is. That person is afraid. If you can bring to that environment, that situation, the environment of your mind that allows it, that doesn't get reactive against the fear, by doing something, that's the tendency, I got to do something about it. But if you cannot get reactive that way and just be there with the person in their fear, that is the optimum environment in which they can explore the fear for themselves. You can't do it to them, but you can create an environment in which another person can do it for themselves. And that's a much relieving role for a person that is with somebody that is suffering or frightened. Because one of the things that destroys us really is the feeling that we're supposed to do something about somebody's pain or fear or something like that. And since you really don't know, unless you have the God eye of full awareness, what function that pain or fear has for the person, you can't even know that it should go away just at the moment it does. I mean, I've watched people that were in very, very deep pain, and I wanted to take their pain away and couldn't. And then a little while later, I saw how that pain shredded away parts of their defenses and allowed a light to come out of them that even awed them in terms of their own beauty. And had I been successful in taking away their everything, I mean, it's the way parents want to protect their children from everything. But yet when you and I look at our lives, wasn't it a lot of the suffering and a lot of the pains and all that that tempered us and that made us the mensches, the full beings that we end up being?
So one of the things that brings up for me is the ways in which even having a hidden agenda of my own to take away someone's fear or take away someone's pain can be this just enough manipulation to create within that interaction, within that relationship, a hierarchy of intention. Now I'm there with the purpose of doing something, and that makes this utilitarian, and that makes this person my subject instead of an object of my devotion and desire. Now they're a subject to my experimentation for taking away their fear or their pain. And the reason I would do that, the reason any of us would do that, and the reason we do that, and I said do, is because we think that we're supposed to have someone take away our fear and our pain. And if we can take it away from somebody else successfully, well then, by God, that means it can be taken from me. But what if it can't? And what if it's there for a reason because it's a part of who we are and it's okay? What if it's not the fear that is the problem? It is the central focus of the fear, the domination of the fear of the fear even, that makes it so dreadfully other people. And Ramana Maharshi famously said, there are no other people. There are no other people. And that is the most difficult one of all to really embody. To really embody is really, it's just, I don't know why I make it so difficult, but for some reason it just feels insurmountable. There's no other people. That is insurmountable. But it's worth trying. Because we need other people. Because we are still in that mysterious place of individualism. So we need the idea of other people to maintain that. And it's only when we lose everything are we really maybe able to open to the possibility that I've got it all. Maybe. Let's see what... this is a long sit today, so I appreciate if you are sticking around. I'd love to hear if anybody has anything they'd like to share. I'm going to pull up the chat here. Now, I'm not sure what format you're able to listen to this. Morning sit. I don't know if you're watching this video, if you're listening, if you're watching it on YouTube or Substack, but I just appreciate you being here. So yeah, the chat feature is open and available. Communicating with one another is a really good way to start bridging those gaps that we have created with our individual concepts of who we are. So I want to encourage that people start communicating with one another about these ideas, about your practice, and about this is not meant to be a mountaintop from which somebody speaks downward. This is a circle. I'm one spot in the circle. You're in the circle. We're all in the circle. I just happen to have the microphone. We're on number 18 today. We've been working through Bell Hook's wonderful offering, Appalachian Elegy. This is such an amazing treatise on place. The place in which she is from, and the place from which she writes these poems. Somehow, in these 66 short poems, we go through one a day roughly, and somehow they tend to line up. And I don't read ahead. I've made it a practice to, this is the first time I'll be reading this poem today. So we're on number 18. When trees die, all small hearts break. Little living creatures, happy and safe, uprooted, now in need of finding new places. When home cracks and breaks and falls, all life becomes danger. How to find another place where all is not yet barren. Oh, wow. I don't know about you, but that poem seems to be pretty relevant to the discussion today. Maybe I'm just hoping that it is, but to me, the idea of home cracking and breaking and falling and all life becoming danger, that sounds exactly like the perfect ingredient for the delusion of individualism. But it's also, at this same moment, an opportunity to open ourselves to the whole. Now, how to find another place where all is not yet barren. You know, when I'm feeling completely depleted, when it seems that I don't have much love in me or energy for healing or holding space for others, when I feel barren, and I've got nothing that anyone would find appealing or alluring or want to sit with. It is exactly when I sit with another who has those things that I am filled, that I'm fed. And in that moment of openness to be nothing with another person, all of a sudden I discover that I'm not nothing, that I have all of these things, or they've all been here. I just, for whatever reason, was having a difficult time accessing them. I just couldn't open the doors on my own. I was stuck. And we get each other unstuck. We get ourselves stuck. We get stuck in our minds and we get ourselves stuck. And so when Bell Hooks says that when trees die, all small hearts break. Little living creatures, happy and safe, uprooted, now in need of finding new places. You know, I think about The Giving Tree, one of those books that we were given as a child that, you know, we didn't have any kind of grief support when we were kids. And my gosh, were we just a barrage of the saddest stories given to us right before recess. Today, class, we're going to read The Giving Tree, and every, second grader is, welling up with tears, and then it's like, okay, grab the dodgeballs, we're going to go play Foursquare. But I think of The Giving Tree when I think of the tree dying and all the small hearts break. Little living creatures, happy and safe, uprooted, now in need of finding new places. That's who we are. We are the tree filled with all of those little living creatures, all those pieces of self, all those pieces of others, all those tiny stories of love and compassion and vulnerability and protection and weakness and all of those things. Those are all living inside of us. And when that goes away, when that home can't seem to house them anymore, we need to find a new way of being. And this way that I'm seeing us have tried to live for generations and generations, it's not working the best that it could. It's working to do what it's doing, to bring us into awareness of even this. But it's up to us, I think, to find that new home that's not yet barren. And maybe that's other people. I don't know. Let's have a moment before we say goodbye today, taking our time just for some silent space. Thanks, you friends, for sitting with me today. And I'm happy to sit with you. I'm very happy to be here each day. So utilize the comment feature. Let me know what your thoughts are on these practices and how they are playing out in your life. I think it's important that we share these ideas with one another. I think it's important that we become vulnerable and put ourselves out there just a little bit and see how that lands in the hearts of someone else who is reading it. If you've ever been moved by somebody sharing who they are, then I dare I say it might be your obligation to share who you are. Because someone needs to hear that. I need to hear that. So thanks for being here. Hari Om.